Okay, call to order. Here we go, call to order. The Brawley City Council and successor agency, the Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency, regular meeting Tuesday, June the 4th, 2013, 6 p.m. or 6:03 p.m. We're going to go ahead and go through some things. Our city attorney has not arrived yet, but we do expect him shortly. So we'll do the call to order.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call. I'm sorry, I called to order already. Roll call.
Councilmember
Thank
Campbell.
you, George. Present.
Councilmember Couchman.
Here.
Councilmember Nava.
Here.
Councilmember Miranda. Not here. Councilmember Warren.
Present.
Okay. Invocation. Go ahead.
Let's pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day, Father. And Father, it's such an honor to stand here today, Father, and say thank you for your many blessings. And Father, we thank you for watching over us and watching over our city, Father, and watching over our employees, Father, and keeping them out of harm's way. And Father, we ask that you help us through this meeting today, Father, to do the people's business. And Father, we know that summer is upon us, Father, and we ask that you try to keep everyone safe and to deal with the heat, Father, how uncomfortable it is. And Father, we thank you so much for our church and church families and all those that are not feeling well today, Father. We lift them up to you, Father, that you touch their body, Father. And Father, we thank you so much for your forgiveness, forgiving us for our sins, Father. And we ask that you help us, Father, to not sin and to not be sinners, Father. We ask all these things in your Son's precious name. Amen.
Amen. George, can you lead us in the flag?
Absolutely. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 1, approval of the agenda. Anybody have anything that needs to be pulled or anything they want to discuss? Anybody from the audience have anything they would like to pull or discuss? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make
We have
It's a public appearance, though?
I will ask if you're here for public appearances. We will get to that. Do you have an item off the agenda that you would like to have pulled, sir?
I just have a question.
Probably public appearances at this point in time. If you would just wait just a moment, we'll get to that shortly.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Do
Second.
I have a second? Okay. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. Now we'll go to public appearances and comments. Anyone, not to exceed 4 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the city council. Anybody, right now, under A, we have introduction of police officer Marco Ramirez. Chief?
Honorable Mayor, Council, it's my pleasure to, here, I'm going to turn around.
Whatever.
He's like on patrol already.
Yeah, right. They got our back, brother. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Marco Ramirez. He comes to us from the great city of Indio, born and raised there. He's a 6-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps, served 2 tours overseas in fighting terrorism, one in Iraqi freedom and one in enduring freedom, one in Iraq, obviously, and the other one in Afghanistan. It's a pleasure to have him aboard, and this is the young man right here, so we're looking forward to great things, and he's just starting his training program, so he's getting on board and getting with the program. So,
Very
Mr.
nice.
Ramirez.
Very nice. Officer Ramirez, would you like to say a few words?
Okay, well, I just wanted to thank God and thank the city of Brawley and the police department for giving me the opportunity to become a police officer. And I'm guaranteeing everybody that I'm going to give it 110% here in the city of Brawley and hopefully retire within 25 years.
Fantastic.
Well said. Thank you very much. Want a quick photo? Do you want us to go down for a photo? We can go down for a photo. Come on, side here.
If you want to give some legal direction relative to any.
He filed.
During the fires.
Welcome, Brawley.
Thank you. Train him well.
He's like bigger than everybody.
Okay. Item B is the Brawley Police Explorer Ryan Araujo and Detective Brian Smith regarding the Summer Explorer Academy. Come forward. And I think you have another police explorer there also.
We do. We have Nelson Jimenez. He's one of our senior
Okay.
explorers. We're here to give a presentation reference our Explorer post and Summer Academy. Code to be sitting into here soon.
Over here in this little corner over here. Hard to see. Uh-oh.
We're good.
Okay, there we go.
Our purpose in the hello?
We can hear you just
Okay.
fine.
Evening.
Good evening. Our purpose to introduce post members to the current law enforcement concepts, ideas, and techniques under the direct and sworn law enforcement officers and advisors. Our specialty is law enforcement, but we also strive to develop leadership abilities and techniques in our various activities. This is also taught in our Orange County Law Enforcement Explorer Advisor Association Academy. Our goals: to learn the functions of the Brawley Police Department, to build self-confidence and discipline, to learn about people in general and community as a whole, to provide adequate service at community functions, to learn positive public relations techniques, to learn how to handle emergency and stressful situations, to gain maturity and awareness of the law enforcement, the development and insight of our current law enforcement trends in order to be able to enter the law enforcement field as a career in the future. What the post is asking of our young adults: to be between the ages of 14 and 20 after the accepted members may remain into the program until their 21st birthday. Have a grade point average of 2.0 or better. Proof of grades must be provided to the post coordinator on a regular basis or on demand. Be of good moral character. Have no serious arrest records. Be in good physical condition. And these are some pictures of the Orange County Academy.
In February, we had 5 of our explorers attended the academy in Orange County. Unfortunately, one got hurt, so only 4 of them graduated. There at the right. Myself and Aegis Sanchez were TAC staff at the academy. So, and that's the lower picture is they had a helicopter land on the field. It's from the Anaheim Police Department. They all got to look at the helicopter. So
Nice.
and it landed as they were all sitting there. So
We go on ride-alongs with patrol officers and help them in any way. We do physical training. We call it PT. Working together as a team. There's pictures of the Explorer Academy on Academy Row. We do building searches, traffic control, and
sorry.
he goes ahead.
Sorry.
On a roll. Evening. Explorer Academy. They are chemical agents. Here's a video about an explorer getting chemical pepper spray.
It's probably the glitch we had. It's a video of Sergeant Araujo being pepper sprayed.
Oh, goodness.
So, and it was a video of them marching. Everywhere they go at the academy. They have
Try
to march.
right-clicking that to see if there's a... No?
Fundraisers. Every once in a while we do fundraisers for road trips, right now we're doing fundraisers for the academy, and sorry about that. Explorer competitions. We train to like SWAT training, tactical scenarios, so we can go to competitions. And also we do fundraisers too for Explorer competitions, so we can go.
Everything the Explorers do, they have to fundraise to make the money, to buy their uniforms, buy their gear, to go to these Explorer academies, to go to Explorer competitions. They have to raise the money themselves to go to all these events. Here we are at some of the events they work.
Working with the community. We work with the community, especially on food drive. We help the poor people to raise, like Relay for Life. And we usually work with dispatchers. We can do sit-alongs, listen to them while they're getting calls, and sometimes assist on them if they're busy or they need help on. And those are pictures from Orange County. We went to Orange County around Street Fair to assist Orange County Sheriffs and Orange PD. And that's an event for the homeless at the Lion Center.
This was at Anaheim Stadium. We took them by there, just took pictures last year. And then last year we had a splash party at the pool where we provided, hot dogs and food and everything for anyone that wanted to come in. We had entertainment and everything there, and the Explorers help out with events like that.
Okay Academy, August 7th through 11th, 2013, the Outdoor Education Center inside Irvine Regional Park in Orange County, California. The Explorers will stay in dorms at the Outdoor Education Center. All meals will be provided for the Explorer. For attending the Academy, the Explorers will obtain college credit from Santa Ana College. The cost for each Explorer to attend Academy ranges from $125 to $225.
And the range is, for $125, it's an Explorer that is still in school and regularly attends, and then it goes up, I believe it's $185 for an Explorer that is out of school, like graduated high school, and the $225 is for an Explorer who does not have a Social Security card. So they're still allowed to go to the Academy.
Donations can be made to the Brawley Police Explorers Post 4310 and delivered to the Brawley Police Department. Attention, Explorer Advisor. Thank you for your time.
Good job.
Great.
I do have a check that I would like to donate. It's $125. It's from me. So here you go.
Very good.
There's another one from Danette Dunn. She's the Southwest Area Municipal Manager of Republic Services, which is Allied Waste. I met with her on city business, and I mentioned to her that you would be here presenting before us, and she got really excited. And she said she was an explorer, and she was the first female explorer in the Anaheim area. So she said that changed her life. When her father passed away, that's what she became an explorer, and now she's a Southwest Area Municipal Manager of a national company. So she said it changed her life, and she wanted to contribute $125 as well. So this is a check from her.
Thank you very much. And one thing we didn't put on the slide, we're trying to send between 6 and 8 Explorers to this Academy. Hopefully they'll all make it through and no one will get injured this time.
Sure.
So,
That would be good.
thank you very much for the time.
Thank you for the
Detective
presentation.
Smith, and I want to thank you for your work. I know that the hours that it does take, a lot of times collateral duty, with the support of course, the chief, to put on a program like this, and it reflects in your Explorers. You guys did a fantastic job presenting. I enjoyed that presentation. So, and I too do plan to get in touch with you, Detective, see how we can support also.
Fantastic.
You bet.
Danette did email me one comment, and I want to read it out. She thanked me for meeting with her, and that, we covered city business, but she also mentioned, "I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to partner with the Brawley Police Explorers and hope the upcoming academy will be a positive, life-changing experience for our future leaders. This is such a great organization, and I am very proud of the work they do." So that's from Danette. So obviously it made a huge impact on her life, and hopefully it makes one on yours too. So, good luck.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Thank
Don,
you.
did you want to say something?
No, thank you guys for your dedication and your commitment to protecting and serving, and you guys done a good job.
Yes, thank you. Fine presentation.
Thank you.
We're very proud of you.
Good job. And good luck.
Good
So
luck.
your fundraiser is a car wash, is that right?
Yeah, we're having a car wash coming up June 15th over here at the Dollar Tree.
Okay.
We're going to be there from 8 a.m. until whenever we run out of cars. So it's just donation only, so.
Donnie, you've got like 10 cars you can take with you, right?
Yeah, very
And a helicopter.
Yeah.
And a
Cars and a
helicopter.
helicopter.
There you go.
Two helicopters.
We washed a tow truck last time.
Oh,
Tow
okay.
truck.
All right. Whatever comes up, all right.
We'll wash it.
Very
and
nice.
We'll have a
Alright.
good time doing it, so.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Camilo, would you like to come up? Eddie, would you like to come up now?
Name is Eddie Camilo. When arrested by the Imperial County Deputy Sheriff's Department, are the complaints, do the complaints come here if the arrest was here in Brawley?
I will ask.
No, they do not.
They do not. They would go to the sheriff's
Sheriff's
department, right. So you would make your complaint to the sheriff's department.
What do you take the complaint to the Sheriff's Department in El Centro?
Yes. To the sheriff's department in El Centro, probably to their administrative offices there on, what is that,
Apple Still.
Apple Still Road?
323.
Yeah.
328.
Another,
That's for an arrest by an Imperial County deputy.
Yes.
So you mean?
yes.
Okay.
Another question, have you received the report from the Brawley Police Department regarding my arrest here?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, there's a process associated with the
Right.
complaint, and I would not expect that this council would be a part of that until it gets farther down the road with that. So obviously, the police will do their investigation. They'll make a determination with respect to the complaint, and they'll take their own action. At that point, the matter typically is done administratively, unless there's further action that Mr. Camilo wishes to take. At some point of that process, the council may be involved, but short of that, it would not be typical for the council to be in the loop of complaints made to the police.
Right, and I don't know that it would be appropriate for us to make comments regarding that, since it's probably an ongoing investigation, or there may be something ongoing at the police level, and I don't think it's up to us to make comments regarding that.
Mr. Camilo will be advised in writing by mail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll go to Daniel Fitzgerald, Bell Valley Enterprise Zone.
Thank you. Council members, just wanted to come before you. There's been a lot of activity continuing on in Sacramento regarding the Enterprise Zone program. Come to you and talk to you a little bit about that, provided obviously plenty of information to the two members of the JPA. As of course, it's continuing to be very dynamic now that it's part of the budget debate. And come before you to provide you with a sample letter. I understand that obviously no action can be taken tonight, but obviously as individual council members, perhaps if you could send the opposition to the two different things that are going on. There's two packages. One is a Senate Bill 434 that I've provided some information in the past on, but the second one is the actual language now of the governor's proposal, which would eliminate the enterprise zones and replace them with a sort of program, and that would definitely not help the Imperial Valley at all, and certainly not the Brawley areas compared to the enterprise zone. The benefits would be a small fraction of what they would be otherwise, if anything at all. I provided the language to your city manager. I do have some copies, and I will provide her with a soft copy of such so that you can edit, change, and in addition to, I've only addressed right now to our senator, but you can also obviously, I will have that as well provided for our assembly member. So basically, these are two packages. The budget obviously is coming up for a vote sometime next week. I anticipate that will probably be Fridays, Saturday, or even Sunday. Otherwise, of course, the legislature doesn't get paid. So I appreciate that. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me via cell phone or via email.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If it is the wish and direction of the council, I would be happy to finalize the letter for the mayor's signature on behalf of the council.
I think we have consensus, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Sure. We all, I think here in Brawley, support the enterprise zone, so we want to see it continue.
Got it. We'll take care of that.
Okay. Okay, are there any other public appearances by anybody in the audience? Anybody else out there? Nope. If not, moving right along to the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anything from the public? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Okay. Number 4, to regular business. A is review and adopt the 2012 Water Master Plan and the 2013 Wastewater Master Plan as prepared by SOMAS.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council Members, Yasmin Arellano, Public Works Director. SOMAS completed the integrated water and wastewater master plans for the city of Brawley this year. And these master plans provide staff with a tool to better address the supply and demand issues by the users to our systems. I have Mr. Edwards here tonight to provide a brief presentation on this integrated water and sewer master plan. There we go.
Thank you very much, Yasmin. Yeah, I'm Kurt Edwards. I'm the Vice President with SOMAS and been doing quite a bit of work here in the city for a few years now. We've given you previous presentations on the water and sewer master plan, so I'm not going to go into great detail for that. I'll just give you a quick summary and some of the reasons why I think you should adopt these things. Maybe.
Try the
mouse. Okay. The master plan objectives were to basically update the 1999 master plan. A lot of things have changed since then. We actually improved a great deal of our research for sewer. Water piping has changed, capacity has changed, and your population has changed. We also came up with capital improvement recommendations for both the water, sewer, and storm drain system. And we projected this out to your ultimate service area based on the current master plan, which wasn't available back in 1999. This is just some of the undeveloped parcels that are in the city or partially developed parcels that we included in the master plan and used for the ultimate capital improvement program. Here's a summary of the population data. As you can see, Brawley's going to almost double in population by the year 2030. I'll be retired by then, by the way. And this is, again, based on your sphere of influence and your master planning data. It'll have significant impact on your two treatment plants, a water treatment plant and wastewater treatment plant. The water treatment plant's probably going to be okay unless you add on the Los Lagos development south of the city. The wastewater treatment plant will be exceeding its capacity, I forget when, it's by 2020, something like that. You need to start planning for expansion of the treatment plant. And the reason you need to adopt these, we based this plan on a lot more data that we didn't have in 1999, surveys, field inspections. We went through this general plan, had quite a bit of input from your city planning department, and we developed priorities for capital improvement programs. And we identified future projects that are very important and need funding. And without an adopted plan, a lot of these funding agencies won't fund them, so you need to adopt them so you can go after money to fix your system. There are possible grants. I know you don't like rate increases, but that's another way of funding, increasing your bonding capacity. And that's what El Centro did for their water and wastewater systems. They passed an overall city bond. And with that, that's all. I hope you vote in favor of the master plans.
Okay. Any further information that we need? Any council member need additional information or have any questions on this master plan? I think we've pretty much discussed it before, and so I think we've gone over it. Okay. Any questions from the public on the master plans? Nope. Okay. Then I'll call for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve this wastewater master plan.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, prior to action being taken, the motion that was made only referenced the wastewater master plan, not the water master plan. So does the council wish to take an action to adopt both or to do them separately?
To do both, I think, all at
I make
once.
a motion that we approve the wastewater and water master plan.
And we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on that? Okay.
Just one more further
Got a question.
clarifying point also, and this is a reading, this is the first reading on this plan, or not in this
This
case?
is the
This is
adoption of the
this is
master plan, and
understood.
from it
Then
we'll
from that
build
would be
the
the reading.
capital
Got
improvement
it.
program that'll come to you
Understood.
next.
Okay. So, okay, then if no further questions or clarification, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Okay. Now we go to item 4B, is review and approve the first reading of ordinance number 2013, ordinance of the City Council of Brawley, California, repealing and enacting Article 2 of Chapter 22 of the Brawley Municipal Code relating to wastewater treatment. And also, are we including, is that also inclusive of the California Sewer Use Ordinance for users in the publicly owned treatment works?
The replacement ordinance will be the sewer use ordinance for users of the publicly owned treatment works, and it will repeal portions of the city's existing ordinance by an act of approving the ordinance.
Okay. So I think you have that before you. You also have some language related to that.
Staff has been directed to present approximately a dozen slides to give kind of overview on the major changes associated with the ordinance update.
Okay.
And I believe many of these topics will be familiar to you, and questions are welcome.
Okay.
Yes, hi, good evening. The City of Brawley adopted the wastewater pretreatment ordinance during 2001. And this ordinance, the first reading of this ordinance is for adoption, will be presented by Mr. Dave Bacto from Lee and Rowe.
Here we go. I'd like to start off with a little history and background regarding the ordinance. In 2001, the City of Brawley had adopted a wastewater pretreatment ordinance, and that was under oversight from the U.S. EPA, who delegates their programs to the State Regional Water Quality Control Board through the MPDES process. Industrial pretreatment programs are required for plants with design capacities of 5 million gallons per day or over, or as required by the regional board. In this case, the City of Brawley is required by the board in its current MPDS permit to develop an EPA-approved pretreatment program. And of course, the city also is more than 5 MGD. Lee and Rowe was hired in April of 2012 to help develop the industrial pretreatment program, and this program will be consistent with the requirements of 40 CFR 403.1, which sets standards for industrial pollutants which may pass through or interfere with the operation of a POTW, or publicly owned treatment works. The existing ordinance was based on an earlier set of rules from EPA dating back to the 1990s. At that time, a sewer survey was not required to identify all the commercial establishments. Sewer collection system data at that time was not required for analyzing of pollutants of concern to establish local limits, which reflect the capacity of the city's actual treatment plant. There wasn't a clear discharge application process, and neither did the program have a clear enforcement response plan, because it did not clearly identify roles and responsibilities of city staff. So the existing ordinance is inconsistent with the updated EPA regulations, and on top of that, the new treatment plant has required a modification of the local limits to reflect its capabilities.
The objectives of the ordinance are to prevent introduction of pollutants into the treatment plant that will interfere with its operation. Also prevent introduction of pollutants into, and by the way, a publicly owned treatment works is not just the plant itself, it's the collection system, pump stations, the whole 9 yards of it. So we want to prevent introduction of pollutants into the treatment works that could pass through or be inadequately treated and go into the receiving waters and result in a violation of the plant. And also, we want to protect the plant personnel and the public who could be affected by waste discharges, for example, by flammable liquids into the system. We want to promote reuse and recycling of industrial wastewater and sludge from the POTW, so we're worried about the quality of those. And we also, because the pretreatment program exists primarily because of the needs of industrial users, we want to provide for fees that allow equitable distribution of the cost of operation, maintenance, improvement of the POTW related to those users, to the users. And the regulated industries then should share the cost of the industrial pretreatment program. Enacting this revised ordinance will, and the subsequent industrial pretreatment program will enable the city to comply with its MPDS permit conditions, also sludge use and disposal requirements, and other federal state laws which the treatment plant may become or are subject to. The ordinance has several key elements. One is legal authority, which is most important to EPA, especially that the city have the legal authority to enforce the elements of the ordinance. In addition, there's the establishment of local limits, which will act to protect the wastewater treatment plant from dischargers based on its particular characteristics. A survey is done to identify non-domestic users within the service area. It also contains a compliance monitoring enforcement program, permitting procedures. It identifies pollutants of concern and conforms with all the requirements established by EPA and the California Regional Water Quality Control Board, the regulators of the treatment works. Major highlights in this ordinance revision include revisions to the pollutants of concern. In this case, we've actually eliminated some of the pollutants that were originally in the ordinance based on years of operating data, which show that they are not likely to be interfering with the operation of the plant. Enactment of this ordinance will extend the life of the POTW, and including the sewer collection system, and it will enable for a management of the facilities to be improved, especially the operation of the treatment plant. It will assure that the treatment plant is able to meet all the NPDES permit requirements. It will help to improve water quality in the New River. And, of course, it will help the city meet its federal obligations with respect to industrial users. I'm not going to go through all of these items one by one. You need to. But you will notice that there are some limits for some metals and other items that were not in the 2001 ordinance that are now in the 2013 ordinance. And in addition, there are some that were in the 2001 ordinance, which, as I mentioned before, have been deleted. In addition, the 2001 ordinance was established around maximum limits, and here we have instantaneous maximum limits, we have daily maximum limits, and we have monthly average limits, depending on the pollutant and how its impact is on the plant's operation or its permit compliance. As we proceed with the industrial pretreatment program, this will require additional monitoring of the collection system. Currently, we only we were only required to look at hot spots, and now we'll be looking at major elements of the system and monitoring them regularly at a minimum once per year.
That's just taking samples from the locations, right? Is that what that would be?
It involves taking samples from those locations, and it also involves doing inspections of the facility. So the city is authorized to inspect the facility and will do so at least once per year. There is a much more detailed enforcement response plan which describes exactly how the city will investigate instances of noncompliance. It has escalating enforcement responses. It identifies the officials that are responsible for each type of response, not necessarily by name, but by position. It reflects the city's primary responsibility to enforce all applicable pretreatment requirements and standards. In this sense, the city becomes almost like the state regulator, the state to the city, in this case, the city to the businesses. And because the plan is very clear and specific, the goal is to create a very uniform approach to enforcement of the ordinance. Some of the mechanisms that are involved in the enforcement response include the first line of defense, which is informal enforcement, which may be verbal communications if a problem is noticed. Subsequently, there may be written notices of violations. It allows for administrative orders to achieve compliance. It also provides for administrative fines up to the limits allowed by the California Code. It also provides for civil litigation should it become necessary, criminal prosecution where warranted, and in the event of all else fails, there is the ability to terminate sewer service. The next steps in this process, we're receiving public comments. There will be a second reading of the ordinance on June 18th. Should the council adopt the ordinance at that time, the ordinance would become effective on July 18th of 2013. And the ordinance adoption is required for the city to submit its industrial pretreatment program to the regional board for approval. And when that occurs, the regional board will act to approve the city's industrial pretreatment program, and that will then become a part of the NPDES permit. And that concludes my presentation. I'm here to take any questions.
Okay. Does the council have any questions?
One question regarding the ammonia limits. It seemed it went from 30 in 2001 to 50. Is that correct?
Well, no, actually, what you'll see, I think, under the ammonia limits is that the, yes and no, the 2001 limits were written in terms of maximums, which I guess you would assume to be instantaneous maximums, although it's not clearly defined. In this case, we've defined an average of 30 over a 30-day period, and we have allowed an instantaneous maximum up to 50.
Okay.
And that's consistent with the results of the local limit study that we performed.
Thank you for that clarification.
Question, Don?
When, just out of curiosity also, when certain elements, or I see on here some of the pesticides and toxins that are those in this new proposed ordinance, when they're removed, is that just based on history, or is it we're just not putting a quantity to it?
Oh, no, that is based on history. We have, since the time that first ordinance was promulgated, we have 10, 12 years of operating history now. And if there are things that were in the original ordinance where we basically have non-detects or such a low detection that there's no potential that we could violate our discharge requirements or sludge quality or whatever, as a result of that, we're allowed to remove those from the limits. And conversely, when there are things that we have detected that have the potential to cause a violation, we're required to add those in.
Understood. And then just also clarifying, the prior ordinance, obviously going back, we weren't under that ordinance as a city authorized to make those annual inspections, or do we still currently, do we need this ordinance in order to do that? Because we still have that jurisdiction, and that I'm asking for.
Some of those jurisdictional things exist now. But one of the things that's happened since 2001 and now is that there was a EPA issued what they called a streamlining rule, which some people would say actually made life a little bit more difficult. But it was actually designed to make the program more clear and easy to enforce. And the current ordinance is not in compliance with that streamlining rule, and it's missing certain elements that EPA requires in order to approve a program. And most of the existing POTWs that have had EPA-approved programs in the past have updated their ordinances in order to comply with this. Since we weren't an EPA-approved program before, it wasn't necessary until now to make some of those changes.
I had a question on the oil and grease on the 100/40, and then there's two little stars, and then you go to 40, the daily max. What's the 100 referring to? Is that?
I believe that was probably a total of, there's a polar and non-polar element to the oil and grease, and the city has a limit that basically says if you have 40 milligrams per liter of vegetable or animal-based oils and greases, which are actually the polar molecules, then there's a limit of 40 milligrams per liter. We've also said that there's a limit of 40 milligrams per liter, even if you have petroleum hydrocarbons, which are the other ones, and if you're going to have oil and grease, the total has to be less than 40 milligrams per liter, and that's based on 10, 12 years of operating experience with the collection system and the experience of the staff that level is necessary to avoid problems in the collection system.
Mr. Mayor, I have one question for Mr.
Yes.
Bechtel. I believe there were some meetings scheduled to take place today with Tetra Tech, the advisor to the regional board, and I was wondering if any new information was available relative to two of the local limits contained in the table.
Yes, we've had some conversation back and forth between Tetra Tech has been hired by the Regional Water Quality Control Board to provide review of both the local limit study, the sewer use ordinance, and the industrial pretreatment program. They do this all around the country, so that's all they do. Not Tetra Tech in general, but the people that are involved with this.
Right.
And we've had some disagreement on the calculation of two of the limits. I have talked to the head of the review program at Tetra Tech today, described to him why our numbers differed from theirs, and based on my explanation of what the difference is, he indicated that if I was able to provide a clear, detailed explanation for the difference between the two calculations, that should be acceptable to them.
So in other words, the limits included in today's presentation are those that are anticipated.
Yes, I see no reason to change those based on that issue. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Any
One last question regarding the system monitoring. I know I asked it earlier, but who's responsible for that testing? Would that be somebody we contract with, or is staff capable of doing the? I'm not sure who can answer the question.
It's intended to be a staff function.
Staff function, okay. Those are my questions.
Any further questions? Any questions from members of the public? No? Seeing none. I think I've got a note here. If the ordinance is approved, I need to read the title aloud, and then,
We actually have one additional comment that I believe our city attorney is prepared to share.
okay.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, in addition to any other comment you might get from the audience, the city and the city clerk received written correspondence from attorneys on behalf of National Beef. I believe a copy of that
Yes.
has been placed at each of your places.
We do have.
There are basically two components to the correspondence, as I see it. There's a kind of a list of concerns they express with respect to the ordinance, and basically procedural matters in terms of how it will be enforced, and they raised some concerns about that. There's also attached a letter from H.R. Green, which I gather addresses the local limits and the technical aspects of those requirements. I don't know if since we just got this afternoon, I don't know if Mr. Bachtel has had an opportunity to take a look at
He has
that correspondence. At least as to the points raised relative to the due process arguments, I believe the ordinance as written adequately addresses those concerns, and at least as to those, I would recommend that you move forward unless there are other things that would cause you to want to take a further look at it.
Okay. And so, anybody have any questions regarding those items?
With respect to the technical review, since it hasn't been reviewed in a technical sense, should there any basis for concern there, Dennis?
Well, I'm wondering, to the extent that Mr. Bachtel hasn't had an opportunity to look at it, if it's a
It's a two-page letter.
basically a two-page letter. I don't know if there are other items on the agenda.
That we can address first and then come back to it?
Right. I would suggest maybe give Mr. Bachtel a few minutes, and I think at that
Yes.
point he could say it's going to take longer, or we can address it this evening.
Speed read?
Would you like to take a few moments to look at that?
Sure.
And then we'll come back. I'll just kind of hold it in abeyance right now. And we'll go to a departmental reports. Shirley?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, Shirley Bonias, Personnel and Risk Management. Let me just bring up a quick PowerPoint slide I prepared to kind of help understand the busy activity that the department will be experiencing this month. In your package, you have the monthly staffing report. This slide I also placed at your stations for your review. It kind of gives a synopsis of what is needed as far as personnel issues here at the city. We have received a fire captain's retirement notification. His last day on shift will be June 27th. This is normally for the fire department an in-house recruitment. This will give an opportunity for the 3 lieutenants to move up to captains, and of course, the testing process ensues with oral interviews. With that opening, then we have a lieutenant's opening. And then the firefighters meeting the minimum qualifications can test, oral interview, move up. And then we have 2 firefighters. We have one that will move up, hopefully into a lieutenant slot, and then we have the new position coming on board July 1st. We do have an eligibility list already in place that's good through October for the firefighters. So consensus is being sought from the council to move forward with the recruitment. And this is, I'm asking for all 3 positions, if you will, 4, counting the second firefighter, so we can move forward with that recruitment.
Gentlemen, what consensus is we move forward?
I think this would be a great opportunity for some of our personnel there to compete for these positions.
Shirley?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. As everyone knows, our police chief is going to retire at the end of the month, and the police chief recruitment has began. Even though your report says end of June, it started actually May 31st, and we're moving forward on that. We do have interviews scheduled for police officers. We have consensus from council for the eligibility list, but we do have a resignation in hand. One of our officers' last day will be tomorrow, so we are looking to replace that officer. Once he leaves, there will be 3 openings, and then come July 1st, we have 2 of them frozen, so we still have a opening. And then we have the possible grant application out there that we might have SROs, school resource officers. So if this interview process is successful, hopefully we'll have 3 candidates, a minimum 3 candidates, that we can push through the background process and have them ready in case the grant comes through. Definitely need to replace the police officer position, and looking for consensus from council to move forward at the very minimum of the police officer openings that will be created after tomorrow.
What's your pleasure, gentlemen? Okay, all right.
All right, thank
Good.
you.
Moving right
And
along.
last but
If
not...
I may interrupt you just for one moment.
Sure.
Is the council comfortable with moving forward with an eligibility list so that we can expand beyond the one and have a number of folks kind of
Yes.
fully backgrounded and available
Yes,
to
I
fill
think that's a safe way to do it, because I do think we may have others that leave, we may have other openings that open up as time moves along, so yeah, I think an eligibility list is the way to go. That's just me
Everybody
personally. I mean,
comfortable with that? Great. Fantastic.
Very good, council. Thank you so much. Just an update, dispatcher interviews are also scheduled this month, June 20th. We had 7 or 8 candidates successfully complete the written exam, and we had the one opening that council approved a couple months ago. Parks and Rec. We have a parks maintenance workers retiring July 8th. The budget calls for a temporary worker replacement while that is being looked at for possible outsourcing. And we're looking for consensus from council for a temporary recruitment, a temporary worker recruitment. The goal is to recruit during the month of June, but this person would not start to July 9th.
okay.
And this individual was part of the overall approach to the 2013-14 budget process.
Well, I think we already had discussed that, so our consensus is to move forward, gentlemen? Yes. Okay.
Okay, very good. And just an update on summer program hiring. 5 lifeguards and a sports specialist have been hired. 12 additional lifeguards paperwork was done today. And summer camp will be starting in a couple weeks, so I am working with Pat Dorsey and Richard Rubio and their department. I'm bringing approximately another 25 young individuals on board for the summer day camp, so it's going to be a busy month during the month of June.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Shirley, just one, just going back to
Yes, sir.
police, as far as our background investigator resources, do we have one that may, I don't know, directed at the chief or?
It's actually a chief question if they want to outsource the background or keep it in-house. I think after the oral interviews are conducted, depending on how many people pass that, then I will hunt to the department to see how they want to handle that.
Our typical approach has been for a sergeant within our department to carry out background investigations, and it has been an in-house function. And
Okay, in more or less a collateral duty, they're still functioning as a supervisor,
Yes.
obviously, I don't know.
It's fit in with other
Okay,
responsibilities.
Yes, but it's something that the department might want to look at. It depends on how many people actually pass the oral interview process. Any
Okay.
other questions, sir?
Any other questions? Questions from the public? Nope.
Thank you very
You're
much.
free to go.
Thank you.
Okay, Marjo, I believe you wanted to come forward and do something regarding the library?
Got money.
Not that tall. The library is very, very happy to announce that we have a preliminary intent to award for the Lambs Project for 2 years from the Imperial County Children and Families First Commission. It's $194,000 per year, as long as their budget can support that. We are in an appeal section, so it won't be formal until next Monday. But we don't think there'll be any change in the fact that we're going to have the Lambs Grant for 2 more years, which is great.
That's very
It
nice.
is. It's such a great program. We're really proud of it. The other thing is that the library starts our summer hours next week. So the branch will be open Mondays and Thursdays from 3 to 7 instead of 4 to 8. We just drop everything down and make everything an hour earlier. And the main library is open Tuesday through Thursday from 10 to 7. And then Fridays and Saturdays remain 9 to 5. Okay? And the other big event coming up, of course, is our summer reading program. And I left a few calendars on the other dais that have our events, our topics, what we're going to be doing. And we just want to encourage all kids to come and read at the library. The kids earn incentives for how much time they read. So if they're reading books or cereal boxes, it all counts because it's time. So we think that's a great program too. So, thank you.
Congratulations.
All
We're
right.
doing good work.
Thank you, Marjo. Okay. Moving on to item 6, City Council reports. Mr. Wharton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have an excuse, but I have been quite busy with work, so I do not have actually anything in the past 2 weeks to report. But I do want to say, if I could just take just a few seconds to congratulate our upcoming Brawley Union High School graduates coming up this next Thursday. I guess you can say I have a little skin in the game, but I'm very proud of our city, proud of our school system, again, the teachers. I also want to make a special mention to the many organizations out there, service organizations, community members, memorial funds that really come together this time of year and support many of these students with scholarships. So it's really neat to see that throughout the valley, but in particular here in Brawley, we're very well supported and very appreciative of those organizations. So congratulations to class of 2013. I look forward to being there. That's all I have.
Thank you. George?
I did attend a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Japanese restaurant here in Brawley, and that was a nice event. Hopefully that people enjoy the food there. I thought it was very, very good, and so it looks like it's going to be successful, so that's fantastic. I just want to thank staff, thank everyone out there for your hard work. I know it's starting to get pretty warm out there, so stay safe and keep working hard. So again, thank you all very much, and that's all I have to report for the moment.
Thank you. Don?
Yeah, I also attended the ribbon cutting for Katori's. That's a really, really nice restaurant. Really enjoyed the food too. They have some good food there. But it's been pretty quiet. And looking forward to heading to Los Angeles on Saturday morning to attend the SCAG meeting and always enjoy that. So I just want to thank everybody for their hard work, and may God continue to bless you guys and your families. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I guess since Miguel's not here, Miguel had to be absent today. He had an appointment in San Diego and he could not make it back in time. So I gave him an excused absence. Not really. Okay. I had a meeting with the Chamber Board of Directors. I did attend that last week. I had ribbon cutting for the Cattle Call Arena. We did it for the improvements out there, and that was a nice event. We also had the ribbon cutting for Katori, and I also attended that. I also made a trip to Sacramento on May 23rd. I attended a Caltrans Award event in Sacramento with several local officials and other people from San Diego also, that we all traveled up there for the day. We were nominated for an award for the bypass. It was our freeway bypass projects, whatever. We were nominated for an award. We did not win, which was extremely disappointing to me. Actually, we thought we had a good chance, and then when we got up there, one of the nominees in our category won for another category, so we thought we even had a better chance, and naturally, they didn't pick us. I was very disappointed, but actually we did. It was a fine thing, and we got recognized, and it was all announced. There were quite a few people there. I got to meet the head of the Caltrans for the state, and also the lady that locally runs our region. And so that was important, and I got to meet a lot of other people from other regions, and they're very, very competitive about these nominations and these awards, and it was a very nice event, and I think maybe it may have been the first time. I don't know if it's the first time we've gone up there, but it was pretty exciting. So I did get to do that, and had some people from the county that also attended that. We had, and then also on 5/29, we had a large meeting with the beef plant. George and I, as a part of a committee, and we met for about 5 hours. We welcomed the meeting, and we had a good discussion, and I guess that's all we'll report on that. We did have a good discussion with them, and it was a long meeting. So on that, that's all I really have to report, and thank you very much. And moving right along to Treasurer's Report.
Nothing.
Okay, okay, very good. Okay, City Manager's Report.
I have a few items to run through. The first is relative to the city's investment policy that was recently adopted. Wanted to make the council aware that the treasurer and I have moved forward with processing documents at two of our local banks, which are Sun Community Federal Credit Union and Community Valley Bank, and we'll be proceeding with those deposits, which are set at $1 million. And as you may recall, it's to move dollars with a far lower return on our investment with LAIF, the Local Agency Investment Fund. We're moving them into our two local banks with a much higher interest rate. So looking forward to partnering with our locally based banking community. Wanted to also share that Chief Gilmore successfully submitted ahead of schedule the SRO application to the Department of Justice. We did submit the package with a waiver that is structured just as it was presented to the council. It assumes 3 years of 75%, the 75-25% split, with the final year being 50-50 between the district and the city. If we are not successful with the waiver, we will have the topic back to the council to discuss how the city may participate, because the concept would be altered from the 75-25 split for the 3 years. The initial dialogue I've had with the school districts, just so you're aware, is that for the current fiscal year, it would be very difficult for us to absorb any costs because it's not part of our adopted budget. But for years 2 and 3, perhaps we could participate in some cost sharing for those years, and then year 4 would be the same 50-50 split. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that we'll be successful with the application, and I appreciate that Chief Gilmore went the extra mile to get that in ahead of schedule. Wanted to check in with council on whether, or what your thoughts are for the month of August, whether you wish to have the council meet. Last year, we moved forward with the concept of a dark August, but I think we ended up meeting anyway.
I think we met once.
I think we considered having a dark August, but if everybody would kind of stay in contact in case of emergency meetings.
Yes.
Are you fine with us proceeding as though we are dark unless there's something time sensitive that needs to be?
That's fine.
Okay, great. Appreciate the feedback. And then the last two items I wanted to touch on briefly are relative to the upcoming budget year that begins July 1. Would you like us as staff to continue to come back to you for budgeted approved positions prior to recruitment and hire? Or now that we're at a balanced state, are you comfortable with us just operating within the adopted budget?
I would like the information.
So you'd like them to come back?
You want action of the council before we do recruitments?
Right now, I would say so. If we're still making adjustments.
Well, we have a balanced budget, so that's what our goal has been. If they can update us, though, on the positions, I think that would be...
We can definitely continue to provide the same personnel summary, but the question is, do we need to stop and wait for approval for budgeted positions when they're vacant?
I think here lately, we've just been kind of giving direction.
We're not proceeding without your blessing.
Right. My own feeling is that we're at the point where we do have a balanced budget, work within those constraints, and I would just like the information, regardless, but...
Everybody else okay?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Right, I was just going to make the comment, it seems we do take the time. I think that, we've been getting obviously timely, not just staffing reports, but I don't want to, in the course of handling city business, hinder maybe something that, in some ways could cost us. I don't know. But so I'm definitely in favor for just having the knowledge is great, but other than that, to proceed.
Okay.
I think for efficiency's sake, I think you should proceed. I think if it's already budgeted, it's budgeted. If we need to make a decision, I think we'll know that in advance, but we do want to get the information that we've been receiving, I think.
Happy to provide that monthly report the first meeting of every month. or as
Tell us what you're
frequently as-
doing, and then, even if we're proceeding, but we want to call something special or call a halt to that, we would have an opportunity to do that as long as you're providing us with the reports, I think, under most circumstances, if we ran into any kind of trouble, and I don't foresee that. I think we'll know that before we do the recruitment.
And if our city manager, I think, has done a good job of exercising that discretion also. If it clearly looks like something that probably should have some notice to council, that'd be great.
Okay. And then the last item was just, I wanted to give you a heads up that Parks and Recreation and I will be meeting with the facilities and admin staff at Brawley Union High School relative to some shared interest in maintenance activities at Ed Wiest Field. Wanted to be certain that you're aware that what we have an invitation to do is to put in a more formal form, roles and responsibilities relative to maintenance, both our regular calendar of activities as well as theirs.
Okay.
And an item like that would obviously come to the council for approval, but a preliminary talk occurred between the superintendent and me late last week, and it was suggested that perhaps clarity on everybody's roles would help to serve the community as a whole. I do think there remain some issues to untangle relative to non-athletic related activity at the improved facility. And Steph and I continue to work diligently to encourage venues in the downtown core on that subject. And if the council has additional direction that you'd like to provide, we're certainly happy to hear it.
Sure.
I think every opportunity that we can utilize Main Street, I think we should do that. I really do.
I think we probably should. I think we've gotten somewhat used to it being the chili cook-off in that environment. I think it may be safer over there than it is down here, but I don't know, we may want to look at that also. I think there are certain things, I don't want to overuse that field with non-athletic events, though. I think same thing with the cattle call arena with non-equestrian. I think we want to take a look at that pretty closely.
The chili cook-off, as the Cattle Call Rodeo Committee currently conceives of it, is intended to occur at the field. We are working actively with them to encourage other venues. From what I understand, the mariachi night will be held downtown, and they've agreed to hold it here. But we are looking at maybe some other alternative locations for the chili cook-off because there's just so many attendees.
They do, yeah.
And it's at the time in the season that the grass is beaten from users already, so it kind of exacerbates an already difficult set of circumstances out there, which I think we heard at a council meeting.
I think we need to consider alternative venues.
Right.
And the baseball field, that's the only baseball field we have, really, and so, obviously there's Little League parks, but this is a real field. So.
I think the only concern would be maybe fencing and the ability to control the crowd as they come in and out, and because they do charge a fee, and so those, if it's a free event, there's not much of a problem with having it downtown, but if it's not free, then you have to try to be able to control your crowd in some way, and I don't know if that's available, or can we do that down there?
I've kind of committed myself in a conversation, obviously with our executive director there, to hopefully get in front of the board and certainly hear out the issues. But I'm definitely for doing everything we can to mitigate the amount of traffic and potentially damaging obviously the good work that we may embark on. Speaking of that, are we looking at an MOU and like a maintenance MOU? Is that what I'm hearing?
It's always
that we're
been
going to
kind
spell
of
out?
just a gentleman's agreement
Who does
between the
what?
school district and Richard. I mean, with Richard and Karin. They worked out these arrangements year to year, and as it's become a more and more popular venue, and these non-athletic events have occurred, I think it's kind of been a convergence of.
We just have to be careful not to be too restrictive, where it's just the school district using the field and those sorts of things. So we need to make sure
At this point, we have no direction saying limit to anything other than non-athletic, and we won't go down that road until the council is ready to, or it rises to a level that we bring a topic to you to discuss and provide direction on.
Sounds good.
Okay. That's That's it.
As regards to the deposits issue and where we would like to get the best return for our deposit with safety also, I would like to commend Ruby and Jim on their work on that, because I think they put a lot of work into meeting with all the local lending institutions and getting that set up. So I thank you for that. That was good work.
Fantastic.
City Attorney's report.
I have nothing to report, Mr.
City Clerk. And now back to our ordinance.
Thank you. In the short time I've had to look through this, as I read it, the letter raises probably three major issues. One has to do with, and it revolves around the nitrogen ammonia limits, which has been sort of a thorn in the side for national beef.
Yes.
I'd remind you that the ammonia limit has been 30 milligrams per liter since 2001. And in essence, there's been some relaxation of that in the sense that we've established a 30-day average limit of 30 milligrams per liter, but we've allowed up to 50 on an instantaneous basis. There are some philosophical issues here that relate to the city's future growth and risk, and the letter suggests that the city could utilize the entire permitted capacity of the wastewater treatment plant in determining allowable discharges. In developing these local limits, we have considered the current flow of the plant, not the future capacity, so that we can hold that future capacity for future growth. And I think that's in keeping with the sympathies of the regional board in this whole matter. And the rest of it has to do, it seems very simple that the plant could handle additional ammonia perhaps and not violate, but there's an issue of violation, and also there's an issue of interference with the operation of the plant. And just because the plant doesn't violate doesn't mean there's not necessarily some issues with the operation. In addition, in the case of this plant, the amount of ammonia is also tied in with the suspended solids and the BOD and how they interact in the plant. And the fact that, in essence, when we did some of these limits, some of the limits for like metals and many of those things have a safety factor built in, because obviously you would like to get as much out of the plant as you can, but you don't want to violate. And on some of these items, we have used the safety factor that was built in to the design of the plant. And with the ammonia limit where it's at, that creates some additional buffer, which is certainly within the rights of the city to do, and perhaps we can better communicate that in the context of the study. And so there are, to accommodate their concerns, there are some issues of risk that the city would need to evaluate. In addition, they're suggesting that there should be consideration of flows that are beyond what they've asked for in their permit application. I'm not sure how we would deal with that. So we can certainly report back to you with a much more thorough analysis, with a little bit more extensive thought, I suppose, very clearly outlining what the implications of the various alternatives are, so that because a lot of these get to a policy level, and I think that's certainly within your purvey.
Do you have any reservations that you might offer to the council relative to them proceeding with adoption of the first reading?
Question. Yes, I guess that's the biggest question. Do we go forward with the first reading, or do we wait?
I don't see anything that would preclude you from adopting the ordinance as is, based on your evaluation of what we'll provide you, and that's then up to Dennis to make that recommendation. I think it's out of my area of expertise.
Well, based on what I hear Mr. Backel say with respect to the HR Green letter, I don't see a reason why you can't go forward this evening.
With it?
On that aspect.
Okay. And I don't know that we want to discuss the beef plants letter. I think we're going to probably proceed forward with this ordinance, I think, as it exists. Okay, I think you're going to have to walk me through the process for this one, because you've got a couple things here for me.
And Mr. Mayor, should an item occur between now and the second reading, it can be raised at the second meeting
Correct.
relative to that topic, so it's not the only
Okay, so
moment
we'll be
at
hearing
which-
this at our next meeting, and that could be raised at that point in time.
We'll
We
have a
could get
full
an
response,
additional
though, to the
response.
matters that are identified.
Okay.
Now, depending on what the nature of that item might be, it might be recommended that because it's a substantial sort of change, that you have to go back and have another first reading.
Okay.
And in that circumstance, we'll certainly let you know, but certainly there can be some changes between now and this.
But we would make that decision at that time.
Correct.
And then we could go ahead and do that if necessary.
Correct.
Otherwise, I think we probably need to proceed. I think we're under some deadlines, I think, in terms of proceeding, and I think we probably need to move forward with this. I mean, just off the top of my head. Okay, so kind of walk me through what we need to do. Are we going to approve the ordinance and then read the ordinance and do another approval, or do we just do everything all at once?
My suggestion, if you're wanting to go forward with the introduction, is to have a motion that would say that you are having a first reading of the ordinance, and that the first reading of that ordinance would occur by title only. And the reason I say that is, under the law, you're required to read the entire ordinance unless you waive that reading. So it's my suggestion that you waive the entire reading. So that's the reason for the latter part of that motion.
And how do we handle, if the public wants to see a copy of this, they can come into the city and we will provide them with whatever they need in order to do an overview. Since we're not reading it in public, I mean, I think that would be something we want to make them aware.
The ordinance is available on the website.
Right. So
If you go to, I don't know if it's other places, but it's at where you go to the agenda, and it's a part of your agenda.
So any of the public that wants to read it
It's certainly
before the
available.
second reading or any of that, they would have an opportunity to do that.
And the city clerk has a copy, so if they somehow don't have access to a computer, a paper copy would be available.
Okay.
For public review as well.
Okay. And I understand that this is a roll call vote? So
There needs to be a motion first.
a motion first and then a roll call vote, I think?
And again, your motion is to have a first reading by title.
Okay.
And then there's another motion you need to make.
Then the second motion, okay. So, gentlemen, are we ready to proceed with this? If so, I will entertain the motion.
Then I'll make the motion here to approve the first reading. City of Brawley, California sewer use ordinance for users of the publicly owned treatment works.
In title only?
In title only.
Title only.
In title.
I second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any comment from the public? Okay, if not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions? Looks like there are none. Okay, now then. But now we have to make another motion, right?
Well, Dennis is roll call next.
Or another, don't we make another motion?
Well, the second motion, I don't believe, I know your former city clerk had roll calls on ordinances. I don't believe it's
You don't think
required
that's necessary?
by law.
Okay.
So long as there's the city clerk will take down what the vote was.
Okay, so now then, so we'll have another motion to approve the ordinance, and I'll read the...
No, well, your first motion, I think suffices for
Okay.
today.
Okay, all right.
As far as the introduction goes. City clerk should read
Okay.
the title
Okay.
for the record.
All right. City clerk?
Oh, no, that's the closed session.
It's this one right here, right?
Hang on, I'll give it to you.
Ordinance number 2013 ordinance of the City of Brawley, California, repealing and reenacting Article 2 of Chapter 22 of the Brawley Municipal Code relating to wastewater treatment.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, now,
Now, the second action you should take relates to appointing a city attorney to prepare a summary of the ordinance. The reason for that is, under the law, after the second reading and adoption, you're required to publish the entire ordinance. And the alternative to that is to publish at least 5 days before the second reading, a summary of that ordinance. Or in lieu thereof, a display ad, which gives information about the ordinance, or at least sufficient information so that if someone's interested in getting the copy, they can. And so that happens 5 days before your second reading, and then within 15 days after, you publish a second display ad.
But that would be very long if we had to,
So
the expense of publishing this ordinance would be in the thousands of
Yes,
dollars.
we're not going to do that.
So I make a motion to direct the city attorney to draft a summary, right?
Summary.
Of the ordinance.
Or in lieu of a summary, a display ad.
Right.
Second?
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any comments from the public? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. So that concludes that business, and now we will be going to closed session, right? So thank you all for being here and attending.